They've been lying to your face about Lyra Valkyria's injury 4 months while Roxanne Perez has been running around acting like she's the undisputed queen of NXT. But what happened this week when Valkyria finally returned will make your blood boil and prove that WWE has been protecting their golden girl at the expense of real talent. The confrontation between Lyra Valkyria and Roxanne Perez wasn't just heated, it was nuclear. And the backstage footage that leaked after their segment reveals the disgusting way WWE management has been manipulating storylines to keep Perez looking strong while systematically burying one of the most talented women on their entire roster. Lyra Valkyria didn't just return to NXT, she returned with receipts that prove Roxanne Perez has been playing corporate politics behind the scenes to sabotage her career. And what she revealed during their confrontation will make you question everything you thought you knew about WWE's so-called commitment to women's wrestling. Right now, WWE's damage control team is working overtime to suppress the real footage from this segment because what actually happened makes their precious Roxanne Perez look like the manipulative corporate puppet she's always been. They're trying to edit out the most explosive moments where Lyra Valkyria exposed years of backstage sabotage and systematic character assassination. But I've seen the unedited footage. I've heard the audio they tried to cut. And what I'm about to reveal will prove that Roxanne Perez isn't the innocent, hardworking champion WWE wants you to believe she is. She's a backstabbing politician who has spent years destroying other women's careers to protect her own position. The injury that kept Lyra Valkyria off television for months? Complete fabrication designed to remove her from storylines when it became clear that fans preferred her over WWE's chosen Golden Girl. The medical reports were doctored. The recovery timeline was artificially extended. All to keep Valkyria away while Perez consolidated her stranglehold on the women's division. And Lyra Valkyria came back with proof of all of it. The leaked backstage audio from before their segment shows Valkyria absolutely destroying Perez with documented evidence of her backstage manipulation. Text messages where Perez lobbied management to extend Valkyria's injury time. Email chains where she complained about Valkyria getting too much spotlight. Recorded conversations where she actively campaigned against storylines that would feature other women in prominent positions. Roxanne Perez isn't a champion, she's a corporate manufactured fraud who has spent her entire NXT run systematically eliminating anyone who might threaten her artificially protected position at the top of the women's division. The confrontation footage that WWE is desperately trying to hide shows Lyra Valkyria methodically exposing every lie Perez has told, every career she's sabotaged, every opportunity she's stolen from more deserving wrestlers. And Perez's reaction? She can't deny any of it because Valkyria has the documentation to prove everything. But here's what makes this situation absolutely infuriating, here's what should make every wrestling fan sick to their stomach. WWE management has been enabling Roxanne Perez's backstage manipulation for years. They've been protecting her at the expense of talented women like Lyra Valkyria because she fits their corporate image better than authentic wrestlers who actually earned their positions. The leaked audio contains WWE executives explicitly discussing how to manage the Lyra Valkyria situation to protect Roxanne Perez's championship reign. They literally viewed Valkyria's popularity and talent as a problem that needed to be solved rather than an asset that should be featured. Multiple sources within NXT confirmed that there was never any legitimate injury keeping Lyra Valkyria off television. She was medically cleared to wrestle months before her return, but WWE kept her away because they were afraid her presence would overshadow their precious Golden Girl. Meanwhile, Roxanne Perez has been parading around as NXT Women's Champion, acting like she earned her position through talent and hard work, when the reality is that she's been protected by systematic removal of her competition. Every woman who showed potential to challenge Perez for fan attention has mysteriously found herself dealing with injuries, creative differences, or sudden character changes that killed their momentum. And in every case, according to the leaked documentation, Roxanne Perez was involved in the backstage discussions that led to these convenient developments. The unedited footage of their confrontation shows Lyra Valkyria reading from actual WWE internal documents that prove this pattern of systematic competitor elimination. Names, dates, specific conversations where Perez actively lobbied against other women getting opportunities that might threaten her position. You want to know why Tiffany Stratton got called up to the main roster so suddenly? Valkyria asks during the leaked footage. It wasn't because she was ready, it was because Roxanne went to management and complained that Tiffany was getting bigger reactions than her at live events. The silence from Roxanne Perez during this revelation is telling. She can't deny it because everyone knows it's true. Tiffany Stratton was white-hot with NXT crowds, and her sudden promotion to Raw conveniently removed her from competing with Perez for spotlight in the women's division. But that's just one example of Roxanne Perez's systematic elimination of competition. The leaked documents show a pattern going back years of her actively sabotaging other women's storylines and career opportunities. What about Cora Jade's mysterious attitude change? Valkyria continues in the footage. What about Indy Hartwell's sudden character shift that killed her momentum? What about every single time a woman started getting over with the crowd and then mysteriously found herself in storylines that made her look weak and stupid? Each question hits like a bomb because every NXT fan remembers these sudden character assassinations that never made creative sense. Women who were getting organic fan reactions suddenly found themselves booked into storylines that destroyed their credibility and momentum. And according to Lyra Valkyria's explosive revelations, Roxanne Perez was behind every single one of these creative sabotages. The leaked audio contains Valkyria reading from text messages where Perez complained to WWE management about other women's storylines. "Cora is getting too much attention," one message reads. "Maybe we should rethink her character direction." Another message about Indy Hartwell: "The fans are responding to her more than expected. We might need to adjust her storyline to refocus attention where it belongs." Where it belongs. Roxanne Perez literally believed that fan attention belonged to her rather than whoever was earning it through talent and charisma. But the most disgusting revelation from this confrontation concerns what Roxanne Perez did to sabotage Lyra Valkyria specifically. The leaked footage shows Valkyria presenting documented proof that Perez actively campaigned to have her removed from television when it became clear that fans preferred her over the corporate chosen champion. "You went to Shawn Michaels and told him I was difficult to work with," Valkyria states while showing what appears to be internal communication records. "You told him I was creating locker room tension and not committed to the NXT vision. All lies designed to get me removed from storylines where I was outshining you." The documentation apparently includes recorded conversations where Roxanne Perez systematically poisoned management against Lyra Valkyria with fabricated complaints and manufactured incidents designed to make her look unprofessional. And when that wasn't enough to remove Valkyria from competition, Perez apparently escalated to having her injured and removed from television entirely. The leaked audio contains what appears to be recorded conversation between Perez and NXT medical staff where she suggests that Valkyria's minor injury should be treated conservatively with an extended recovery period. Not for Valkyria's health, but to keep her off television during Perez's championship reign. "We should make sure she's completely healthy before rushing her back," Perez says in the recording. "No point in risking further injury." But the tone and context make it clear this isn't medical concern, it's strategic removal of competition. The medical professionals involved apparently went along with this extended timeline because it came with management backing. They were essentially told to keep Lyra Valkyria sidelined regardless of her actual medical status. Meanwhile, Roxanne Perez spent months building her championship reign against hand-picked opponents who posed no real threat to her position. Every challenger was carefully selected to make Perez look dominant while avoiding anyone who might actually outshine her. The leaked documents show that multiple women were removed from championship contention specifically because Roxanne Perez viewed them as threats. Talented performers who should have gotten title opportunities were instead relegated to meaningless mid-card storylines that wasted their potential. And all of this systematic manipulation was enabled by WWE management who prioritized protecting their chosen champion over showcasing the best talent available. The unedited confrontation footage shows Lyra Valkyria becoming increasingly emotional as she details the impact of Roxanne Perez's backstage manipulation on other women's careers. This isn't just about personal grievances, it's about systematic discrimination that has affected the entire NXT women's division. "How many women have had their dreams crushed because you couldn't handle competition?" Valkyria asks with obvious anger. "How many talented performers have been buried in meaningless storylines because you were afraid they might show how artificial your push has been?" The silence from Roxanne Perez during these accusations is deafening. She can't defend her actions because the evidence is overwhelming. She can't deny the systematic pattern because it's all documented. But perhaps the most damaging revelation concerns how Roxanne Perez has been manipulating fan perception through social media and backstage leaks. According to the leaked documentation, she's been actively working to damage other women's reputations through strategic information campaigns. The footage shows Valkyria presenting evidence that Perez has been feeding negative information about other wrestlers to dirt sheet reporters and social media influencers, deliberately spreading rumors and manufactured stories designed to make her competition look unprofessional or difficult to work with. "You've been playing journalist against journalist, feeding them stories about other women being hard to work with or unprofessional," Valkyria reveals while showing what appears to be text message exchanges. "All to protect your artificially manufactured reputation as the professional champion." This revelation explains so much about the negative coverage certain NXT women have received in wrestling media. Stories about backstage attitude problems and professionalism concerns that never made sense based on their actual behavior and work ethic. Roxanne Perez has been systematically destroying other women's reputations through strategic media manipulation while positioning herself as the model professional who deserves her championship position. The leaked audio contains Valkyria reading from apparent social media conversations where Perez coordinates with certain wrestling reporters to publish negative stories about her competition. Maybe mention that she's been showing up late to training, one message suggests, or that she's been complaining about her booking. These stories were then picked up by other media outlets and used to justify why certain women weren't getting championship opportunities or featured storylines. Roxanne Perez was literally manufacturing negative press coverage to sabotage other wrestlers' careers. But the most shocking revelation from this confrontation concerns the extent of WWE management's involvement in protecting Roxanne Perez through these systematic manipulations. The leaked documents suggest that certain executives were not just enabling her backstage politics, they were actively participating in them. The footage shows Valkyria presenting what appears to be email exchanges between Perez and WWE management where they coordinate strategies for dealing with problematic women in the division. These conversations reveal a level of systematic discrimination that goes far beyond individual backstage politics. You want to know why your championship reign has felt so artificial? Valkyria asks while showing these documents. Because it's been artificially protected through systematic removal of legitimate competition. You haven't been beating the best women in NXT, you've been beating whoever was left after your backstage manipulation eliminated everyone else. This explanation makes perfect sense when you look at the actual quality of opponents Roxanne Perez has faced during her championship reign. None of them were positioned as legitimate threats because anyone who might have actually challenged her credibly was removed from contention through various manipulations. The unedited footage shows Perez finally attempting to respond to these accusations, but her explanations are pathetic. She claims she was just looking out for the division and trying to maintain professionalism, but the documentation proves that every action was taken for her personal benefit rather than any concern for the women's division as a whole. I never asked for anyone to be removed from storylines, Perez claims weakly. But Valkyria immediately counters with specific text messages where Perez explicitly lobbied for other women to be taken out of featured positions. The contrast between the two women during this confrontation is stark. Lyra Valkyria is presenting documented evidence, specific examples, and detailed proof of systematic manipulation. Roxanne Perez is offering weak denials and transparent excuses that don't address any of the actual evidence. But here's what makes this situation even more infuriating: the way WWE tried to edit this confrontation for television. They cut out all of the most damaging revelations about Roxanne Perez's backstage behavior. They removed the documentary evidence. They eliminated the specific accusations that would have exposed the systematic manipulation. The version that aired on NXT was a sanitized, corporate-friendly confrontation that made it look like typical wrestling rivalry rather than an expose of systematic discrimination and career sabotage. WWE literally censored their own programming to protect Roxanne Perez from the consequences of her actions. But the unedited footage tells a completely different story. It shows a systematic pattern of backstage manipulation that has damaged multiple women's careers and artificially protected one wrestler at the expense of the entire division. The leaked audio contains Lyra Valkyria making very specific promises about what she's going to do now that she's back and armed with evidence of Roxanne Perez's systematic sabotage. "I'm not just coming for your championship," she states with obvious determination. "I'm coming to expose everything you've done to destroy other women's careers and artificially protect your own position. This isn't just about winning a wrestling match or capturing a championship, it's about exposing systematic corruption that has been damaging the NXT women's division for years." The backstage reaction to this confrontation has been explosive according to multiple sources within NXT. Women throughout the roster are reportedly coming forward with their own stories about how Roxanne Perez's backstage manipulation affected their careers and opportunities. Several wrestlers have apparently approached Lyra Valkyria privately to share additional evidence of Perez's systematic sabotage. They're providing text messages, recorded conversations, and documentation that proves the pattern of manipulation goes even further than what was revealed during their confrontation. But they're also expressing frustration that WWE management enabled this behavior for so long. Multiple women apparently knew about Roxanne Perez's backstage politics but felt powerless to speak up because she had corporate protection. The leaked footage shows Valkyria addressing the systematic enabling directly. "This isn't just about Roxanne," she states while looking toward the backstage area. "This is about a system that rewards manipulation and punishes authenticity. A system that protects corporate favorites while destroying wrestlers who actually earned their positions through talent." This broader critique of WWE's corporate culture explains why the company was so desperate to edit out the most damaging portions of this confrontation. Valkyria wasn't just exposing one wrestler's bad behavior, she was exposing systematic problems that affect the entire women's division. The emergency meetings that reportedly followed this segment involved multiple levels of WWE management trying to figure out how to contain the damage. They apparently had no idea that Lyra Valkyria had compiled such extensive documentation of Roxanne Perez's backstage manipulation. Corporate lawyers have reportedly been consulted about the potential legal implications of the allegations made during this confrontation. Multiple executives are apparently concerned about discrimination lawsuits if the full extent of the systematic manipulation becomes public knowledge. But it might be too late for damage control. The leaked footage is already spreading through wrestling social media despite WWE's efforts to suppress it. Fans are sharing clips of the unedited confrontation and demanding answers about why this information was censored from the televised version. The contrast between what actually happened and what WWE chose to air is so dramatic that it's impossible to ignore. They literally created a false narrative to protect Roxanne Perez from accountability for her systematic career sabotage. Meanwhile, Roxanne Perez has gone completely silent on social media since this confrontation. The woman who usually posts constantly about her championship reign and professional accomplishments has completely disappeared from public view. Sources close to the situation report that Perez is receiving crisis management advice about how to respond to the allegations. Multiple PR consultants have apparently been brought in to help craft responses that might salvage her reputation. But how do you salvage a reputation when there's documented evidence of systematic career sabotage? How do you explain away years of manipulating management and media to destroy other women's opportunities? The leaked audio contains additional evidence that hasn't been publicly revealed yet. Lyra Valkyria apparently has even more damaging information about Roxanne Perez's backstage behavior that she's saving for future confrontations. This is just the beginning, Valkyria promises at the end of the unedited footage. Every lie you told, every career you sabotaged, every opportunity you stole, it's all going to come out. And when it does, everyone will see what kind of person you really are behind that manufactured champion pour.